Okay, pause whatever you're doing and just imagine this. You're staring at the night sky. It's quiet, cold, infinite. And then something talks back. Not in words, not in Morse code, but in a signal, a message, structured, intelligent, and very much not us. The question is, would we even recognize it?
Or would we just squint at it for 50 years and say, must be another weather balloon?
Today on The Quantum Soul, we're diving into a real mystery. Not just whether extraterrestrial intelligence exists, but whether we're even equipped to notice it when it does.
And to do that, we're using a wild but totally real NASA document. It's called Archaeology, Anthropology, and Interstellar Communication, which is honestly just a super nerdy way of saying, how do we talk to aliens if they don't speak emoji?
Right? We're not decoding just science here. We're decoding us, our assumptions, our history, our deepest symbols. And the wild twist is, what we find out there might just be a reflection of what we've forgotten in here.
And by the way, if you're new here, this is where science shakes hands with mystery, where young, quantum weirdness and alien anthropology all show up at the same dinner party. So if that's your thing, hit that subscribe button, gently, spiritually, lovingly, and like the video so we know you're tuned in.
Because later on, we're going to talk about one artifact recently found that might actually prove everything we're saying isn't just theory. It's metal, it's weird, and it might have come from way beyond Earth. But before that, we need to rewind, because understanding the unknown starts by decoding our own forgotten past. Let's take it from the top. So here's the twist most people miss. The modern search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, didn't start with starry-eyed mystics or conspiracy theorists. It began with two guys in the 1950s flipping through scientific journals like they were decoding a galactic Sudoku.
Right? Giuseppe Cocconi and Philip Morrison. Two physicists who basically said, hey, maybe aliens don't send spaceships. Maybe they send radio. Logical, efficient, interstellar DMs.
Exactly. In 1959, their paper dropped like a mic in the academic world. They proposed listening to the radio spectrum, especially around 1420 megahertz, the frequency of neutral hydrogen, the most common element in the universe.
You know, just in case aliens are also science nerds with a strong symbolic flair.
A year later, Frank Drake took that idea and ran with it, launching Project Ozma. He pointed a radio telescope at two nearby stars and listened. And yeah, he didn't hear anything, but he started something way bigger.
That's when things got interesting. Because in '61, he created the Drake equation, which, let's be honest, sounds like a rejected sci-fi series on Netflix.
But that equation was genius. It didn't give answers, it gave perspective. It forced scientists to ask the hard questions. How often do stars form planets? How likely is life, intelligent life, civilizations that can communicate?
And most heartbreakingly, how long do those civilizations even last?
That's where the humanities sneak in. Because the longer we stared into the stars, the more we realized we weren't just looking for aliens. We were doing anthropology, history, psychology, even spiritual archaeology projected onto the cosmos.
Which, let's face it, is very on brand for humans. We find a galaxy and immediately ask, but what does that say about me?
But here's the kicker. NASA knew this. They didn't just send engineers. They brought in anthropologists, linguists, even mythologists. Why? Because the real challenge isn't the signal. It's the interpretation.
You can have the best telescope in the universe, but if you're still expecting aliens to say hello in binary code, you're probably just going to miss the point entirely.
Which brings us to something even deeper. What if the message has already arrived, and we just didn't recognize it?
Coming up next, we'll explore why decoding an alien signal might have more in common with digging up lost civilizations than building better antennas.
And yes, we're going to talk about ancient scripts, forgotten symbols, and why you might already be carrying part of the answer.
So stick around, especially for point number 4. It's the one that ties this all together, and it might just flip the way you think about consciousness, language, and yourself.
All right, imagine this. You find a strange object buried deep beneath Martian soil. No markings, no language, no manual, just presence. That eerie sense that it was made by someone.
Now, replace Mars with your inbox. A signal shows up. Not spam, not static. Structured, intentional, alien. What now?
That's where archaeology steps in. Not space archaeology, but the kind we've been doing on Earth for centuries. Reconstructing entire civilizations from broken pots, symbols, and whatever time didn't erase.
Think about it. We struggled for decades to understand Egyptian hieroglyphs. And we're humans studying other humans. It took the Rosetta Stone to crack that code.
And with the Mayan language, same story. For years, people believed each glyph stood for a simple idea, like sun or king. That myth, called the ideographic fallacy, blocked real understanding for generations.
And yet, the Mayans were using phonetic systems, grammar, complex sentence structure, not just pretty pictures.
Now, imagine facing a message from an entirely non-human mind. No Rosetta Stone, no shared biology, culture, or metaphors, no idea what even counts as communication.
Which is why the assumption that math is the universal language might be a bit naive. Sure, they might know 2 + 2 = 4, but why would they send that to us? Would that even mean anything to them?
Exactly. As Catherine Denning put it, math, like language, carries cultural context. And without context, you've got noise pretending to be knowledge.
So, what could we do? Well, archaeologists teach us a key principle. Assume your assumptions are wrong. Then start from what you do have. Structure, repetition, patterns.
Which is precisely what SETI researchers are doing now. They're not just scanning for alien Morse code. They're training AI to find structure in the chaos, looking for patterns that don't arise in nature.
In other words, we might not understand the meaning of a message, but we could still recognize that it is a message, and that alone changes everything.
Coming up in segment 4, we'll ask a question that's been haunting philosophers and scientists alike. Are we even equipped to recognize alien intelligence? Or are we just looking for cosmic versions of ourselves?
Don't miss it. It's the most mind-bending part of today's journey. And honestly, the one that gets personal. Because this isn't just about them. It's about how you define you.
Let's start with a brutal truth. We assume intelligence out there will look like us. Maybe they'll speak in math, maybe use logic like a Vulcan. But they'll be smart, right? Human smart.
And that might be our biggest blind spot. Because intelligence, whatever it is, doesn't have to wear a suit, build cities, or send rockets. That's our checklist.
On Earth, only one species developed radio telescopes. Millions of species, but just us. That's not a pattern, that's a fluke.
And even among humans, intelligence shows up in wildly different ways. Howard Gardner gave us 9 types: musical, spatial, kinesthetic. Ever met someone who's a genius at reading vibes, but can't do algebra to save their life?
So when we scan the skies for signs of intelligence, what are we really looking for? Are we trying to find someone else or just trying to find ourselves in a shinier, more advanced version?
It's like staring into a cosmic mirror, but the reflection never comes.
And here's where it gets existential. If we can't even define intelligence in a non-human way, how would we know if we found it?
That's where anthropology comes in. Ruth Benedict studied cultures from a distance during World War II. She couldn't go to Japan, so she pieced together fragments, interviews, writings, secondhand stories.
She called it anthropology at a distance, And it worked, sort of. She painted a picture of a people she'd never met, but it was a rough sketch at best.
Now amplify that challenge across galaxies. We're not talking about different cultures. We're talking about different realities, different biologies, environments, maybe even senses.
What if they don't see light? What if their primary sense is magnetic fields or sound patterns in plasma?
What if their concept of self isn't I, but we, or not a noun at all?
You see the trap. We're searching for intelligence through a human lens, and that lens might blur out everything that doesn't look familiar.
That's why coming up next, we're diving into the Fermi Paradox, but not the usual "where are they?" question. We'll ask something deeper, more unsettling. Could we be surrounded by evidence, but too blind to recognize it?
And trust us, Segment 5 is the turning point. It reframes everything we've talked about so far. If you've stayed with us this long, this next part is where it all comes together. Stay tuned.
Okay, let's bring in the big one, the Fermi Paradox. If the universe is teeming with life, where is everybody?
Right. With billions of planets, at least somebody should have said hello by now. Unless they already have, and we just didn't notice.
Enter philosopher and SETI thinker Ronald Bracewell. He didn't ask, where are they? He asked, what if they've already reached us, but through signals we're not trained to see?
Think about the bogosphere. Found in Colombia, no welds, possibly fiber optic traces. People shout, alien tech. Scientists say, space junk. But what if it's neither? And both?
You're saying, what if it's something we can't categorize because our categories are broken?
Exactly. That's the idea behind anthropologist Wasson's cable argument. A single thread of evidence? Weak. But multiple scattered clues braided together? Now that might be a signal we're just not decoding.
So instead of waiting for a flying saucer, we need to look at anomalies we already have. Signals that are too orderly to be random, but too weird to be ours.
That includes cultural noise, by the way, our own junk. Old TV signals, forgotten satellites, even the design of a microwave oven. They're all saying something, just maybe not what we think.
And let's not forget, even if they did send a message, it might take thousands of years to arrive. One-way communication with no context, like getting a letter in an unknown language from someone who died before your species evolved.
Unless they're not sending letters, maybe they're sculpting contextual puzzles, clues hidden in physics, in structures, in math, breadcrumbs that only an evolving species could follow.
Which means the signal isn't the message. We are. Our ability to notice, question, reflect, that might be the real test.
And that takes us to segment 6, where things get beautifully weird. We're going to explore whether spiritual evolution, yes, actual inner transformation, might be the real key to interstellar contact.
So if you thought this was just about telescopes and math, get ready, because segment 6 might just flip your concept of intelligence upside down. And it's not only the weirdest, it's the most important piece of the whole conversation.
So let's just go there. What if the real contact isn't through antennas, but through consciousness?
Yeah, now we're in the fun zone. Because here's the wild thought. What if Darius is right, and intuition is not just a spiritual muscle, but a kind of quantum receiver?
A tuning fork for vibrations we've been trained to ignore.
And let's be honest, most of us treat intuition like a weird cousin at a family reunion. You know it's there, but you hope it doesn't talk too much.
But maybe it's the only part of us that's not caught in the construct, not bound by language, culture, ego.
That would make intuition not just a feeling, but a technology.
The most ancient tech ever. Older than writing, older than fire.
And maybe, just maybe, the one thing that ETIs would expect us to evolve before they ever say hello.
Which flips the script completely.
Because if spiritual evolution is real and not just a placebo or coping strategy, then it might be what the entire universe is actually measuring.
Not our rockets, not our satellites, but our ability to recognize agency beyond ourselves, to feel something intelligent before it even speaks.
And maybe that's what Tesla meant when he said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Or what Jung meant when he warned that humans project their inner world outward and call it God, aliens, ghosts, demons, but never pause to ask, what part of me is ready to see this now?
So the question isn't, are the aliens out there?
It's, are we in here yet?
Coming up, our final segment pulls it all together. Not just the signals and symbols, but what your role in all this might be.
Because this isn't just theory, it's personal. It's your intuition, your awareness, your next step.
And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, do it now. Because the final insight, the seventh one, might just unlock why you've always felt something calling, but couldn't explain it.
Stick around, because what's coming isn't just the end, it's where it begins.
Okay, so let's take a breath. Because if you've made it this far, you already know something's shifting.
And no, it's not just your Wi-Fi. It's you. That quiet part inside you that's been listening beneath the noise.
Because here's the final and maybe the most uncomfortable truth. This entire time, the search, the questions, the signals, they weren't just about finding them.
They're about finding you. Or more precisely, about you finally remembering that you were never disconnected to begin with.
You see, Darius keeps circling back to this. The real quantum secret isn't buried in deep space, it's buried in your daily silence.
In that moment when you stop chasing external validation and start feeling internal resonance.
It's when you realize that awakening within isn't a mystical Instagram quote. It's a frequency shift you've been avoiding.
And once it clicks, you can't unsee it. You start to hear the patterns. You start to feel the invitations. And sometimes, yeah, you start to wonder if your dreams were messages all along.
Maybe the reason ETI feels so impossible to reach is because we haven't reached ourselves.
And that's the beautiful paradox. Because once you start doing the inner work, you're not just waiting for a transmission, you are the transmission.
A living signal, tuned, alive, ready.
And hey, if you felt something here, even just a flicker, smash that like button, subscribe.
Not for the algorithm, for the alignment.
Because this episode was part of a bigger signal chain. And episode 7, yeah, that one, is the keystone. The pattern you won't see until you see it all.
So come back. And remember, this isn't just a podcast. It's a field. It's growing. And maybe it's you finally remembering the code you buried in yourself before you ever forgot it.
And if this is resonating, then don't stop here.
We've placed 2 paths right on your screen.
One might just confirm what your dreams have been whispering. The other, well, it might explain why you've been waking up at 3 a.m.
So choose your next clue. Click.
And keep remembering what your soul already knows.